Welcome back to the Sales Revolution. I'm Ingrid Maynard, Managing Director and founder of The Sales Doctor. In today's episode, I want to talk about trust. Trust. When a customer's trust is broken, it's almost impossible to get it back. So I'm going to share with you a number of different factors to consider in your practice so that you can make sure that you're deliberately creating trusting relationships with customers. Now, you know, because you've been listening to the Sales Revolution, that when I talk about customers, of course I'm talking about the customers that pay us money in exchange for goods and services, of course. But I'm also talking about any customer or any person with whom you have a value exchange. That's a customer as well. So anyone that we are of service to is a customer. So when we talk about trusting relationships, this really counts for any kind of value exchange. So I'm going to talk about three elements that contribute to a trusting relationship, professional relationship. One of the factors that diminishes that trusting relationship. And all of these elements I've taken from the trusted advisor equation. So I'll make sure that there's a link in the show notes to that equation, because there's a fabulous, I think it's an 11-minute video. My clients will be all over this, but there's an 11-minute video that I invite you to also watch, which is done by them, that talks you through the trusted advisor equation. So I will be talking about that, but I'm also going to add in an extra element that actually comes from Stephen Covey's Speed of Trust, that I think is also something that we could consider and add into this mix. So let's look at the three contributors, according to the trusted advisors, that contribute to us being a trustworthy person, especially in that customer relationship. Those three are reliability, credibility, and intimacy. So let me explain what each of those elements is. So reliability is not just being somebody who turns up on time or someone who says I'll be there and then is there. Reliability is being someone that others can count on consistently. It's how we show up consistently, and that also relates to the state that we show up in. Are we, nice and calm, collected, professional one day, and then a hot mess the next, and screaming and carrying on? Or are we okay when things are going our way, but we're coming down hard on people when we're hearing news that we don't like? If we're not consistent about the way that we show up in terms of state, it means that we're less reliable, and that means that people are less likely to trust us. It means that they're less likely to open up and share the things, particularly around the information that's going to be helpful for us, particularly when we're putting together a deal or we're putting together a solution, regardless of whether someone's paying us money for that or whether we've got an internal customer. So there's reliability. The second part is credibility. Now, this really relates to us being somebody who shares with the person that we're delivering service to that they're in a safe pair of hands, essentially. And what that means is proven track record, our level of experience, any credentials that we might have, any case studies, any testimonials. We need to demonstrate that we have the substance that is required to enable them to get the outcomes that they're hoping that they'll get as a result of working with us. It's one of those things that I must say I used to think was talking about myself. And I used to be quite reluctant to do that, because I thought, if they want to know, about me and what I've been able to achieve, they'll go onto my website or they'll go onto my LinkedIn. But actually, talking about myself in that way, when I'm talking about it as it relates to that particular person, is a credibility building element, and it's something that's really helped me to gain trust a lot faster, because people don't have to go to the work of checking things out or getting references or referees or people to talk to. They can just hear it from me, and I can, as long as I'm making that relevant to their situation and their set of circumstances, it makes sense to them as well. So then they know pretty quickly that they're in a safe pair of hands, and that I'm somebody with the credibility that they can lean on in order to get their solution met. So we've got reliability, we've got credibility. The third element is intimacy. I would say that when we're talking about professional intimacy, we're talking about those times when you know that you're hearing information that's privileged. You're privileged to hear that information, and there's an unspoken and unwritten agreement when that's exchanged that this is to go no further, and that I'm actually treating you in a special way when I share this information with you. And the unwritten agreement is this goes no further, that this is not to be used as currency to show how special you are to anyone who's going to listen. So when a customer, whether that's an internal customer or an external customer, starts to share with you information like, we're about to be bought, we're about to merge, we're letting people go, we're hiring people, this has happened in the business, that's happened in the business, or I'm about to leave, I'm pregnant, whatever it might be, and you're hearing that information, you need to make sure that you demonstrate to that person that it absolutely goes no further, and that you recognise how special it is that they've shared that information with you. It's actually one of the key indicators, I would say, that you've transcended into the trusted advisor space when that starts to happen. But you need to uphold your end of that. So that's the trustworthy component of that. Those three elements, reliability, credibility, and intimacy, are the contributors to us being trustworthy and becoming trusted advisors. But there's one thing that really detracts from us being trustworthy, and that is self-orientation. I would say that self-orientation kills a customer relationship. What do I mean by self-orientation? What I mean by self-orientation is when there's two sides to it. One, we might kid ourselves, isn't self-orientation, but it is. It's just they're the same coin, just two sides of it. So the first one is where we love to talk about ourselves, how wonderful we are, how much we know. Look at me, look at me. It's almost like we're wearing a crown on our heads, and we're saying, okay, everybody come and adore us. I've known so many salespeople like that who really think that that's what people want to hear. And that people actually care. They don't. They don't want to know that. It's very different to credibility building, because this is about personal look at me and relating everything back to me and the things that I've done. And you know those people even in your personal life where you'll be having a conversation and all of a sudden the conversation's turned into something that they've gone, oh yes, and let me tell you about the time when that relates to me. You're thinking, hang on a minute, how do we get here? So that's one side of self-orientation. The other side of self-orientation is almost like self-obsession, where somebody is so consumed with, I don't know enough, I haven't got enough, I'm not enough, I don't know if they'll like me, what if they say this? It's all inward looking rather than thinking, how can I be there to serve my customer? How can I be there for the other? So even though that do I know enough looks like somebody who's maybe trying or they're learning, too much of that is the same. It's self-orientation. It's just self-obsession, as opposed to I'm wonderful and fabulous and everything's about me. They're very, very similar. Both of those take away from the other person that you're showing up there to serve. And they diminish your level of trustworthiness. But there's one extra element that I wanted to add here today, which is from Stephen Covey's Speed of Trust model, and it's intention. And I really think this comes down to, I think this permeates into a lot of conversations. When people take offence, it's not usually the thing that we say, it's the energy behind it. And we know. That's why sometimes people will say, well, I only said X, Y, and Z, or I didn't say that. I only, I meant blah, blah, blah. People know. It's an unspoken energy exchange where they know the intention. Was it meant to hurt? Was it meant to uplift? Was it meant to keep someone safe, or was it meant to do some harm? Was it meant to belittle that person? Was it meant to make that person feel less than? Or was it there to educate, to empower, to enrich? Our intention really has a lot to do with how we're seen by other people and how other people experience us. And I love that element in Stephen Covey's Speed of Trust model. So that's why I've added it here. So the next time that you're looking at the opportunities that are in your pipeline, and I'm talking clearly to salespeople here, and people go into, the abyss and we're not hearing from them again, it's not always true that they've lost trust in us. But we need to go right back and think, what have I done? Have I done something to diminish trust? And if you were able to be honest with yourself and you're self-aware enough, it probably lies in that self-orientation, or you've misused one of the other three elements or haven't built that well enough or solidly enough. If you're really concerned that this seems to be a bit of a pattern in your behaviour and in your pipeline, bring your sales leader out and have them observe you, because there could be something small that you're either not doing or that you are doing that could be easily fixed, that will make all the difference. And sometimes we just need to have somebody else see us with a fresh pair of eyes and offer us their observation and their experience of us, so that we have greater levels of self-awareness around that. Because when we have greater levels of self-awareness, it's easier for us to accept that that might not be effective, and then we can change that and take different action around that. And trust, I would say, in these uncertain times, is one of those things that contributes to certainty. And that if we can create certainty in an uncertain world, we will go a long way to really building a solid pipeline and to making sure that all of our relationships are mutually enriching. Okay, you've been listening to The Sales Revolution. I'm Ingrid Maynard. And to find out how the Sales Doctor can help your organisation to transform its revenue, growth and profit, please email me at ingrid@thesalesdoctor.com.au. Visit us on our website at www.thesalesdoctor.com.au. I look forward to your company next episode. Bye for now.